Hi friends, John from Discover RC. Thanks for joining me. Well guys, today I have a review of a delightful little 3-channel model, the Micro Tiger Moth front yard flyer from Hobby People. This is a ready-to-fly plane, comes in at $60. In the box you get the airplane, 2.4 gigahertz transmitter, battery, and a spare prop. And this is one of the easiest, if not the easiest, airplanes that I've ever flown. I started flying with the GWS Tiger Moth back in 2002, and the Tiger Moth just makes a great trainer airplane because it's slow, it's draggy, but it's still responsive, it's very easy to fly. And this model I absolutely recommend if you're a beginner, if you've been flying one of the millions of quadcopters out there and you want to try an airplane, or if you just want to get into RC airplanes, this model is a great way to start. You've got 3-channel control, as I mentioned. Elevator and rudder are controlled by actuators, which give you proportional control, and then you've got throttle control. The model itself is very nice looking. It's got some nice detail to it, nice decals. You've got some cockpit detail. You don't have a pilot. I always like to have a pilot, but I think we can fix that later. You've got nice struts and cabanes, and just a really good looking little model for $60. You've also got some nice big foam wheels there, so it's very easy to take off from rough surfaces. It's also very easy to hand launch, of course, and it just cruises around very slowly. All right guys, so let me just show you the transmitter here real quick. It is 2.4 gigahertz in case that's not obvious. You have the throttle on the left stick, and it's not ratcheted, but it's also not on a spring, which is very nice. So there's your throttle. You have the rudder and elevator on the right stick, and you have trim buttons for your rudder and for your elevator. When I first took off, I found it needed about 3 or 4 clicks of up elevator. The nose was dropping a little, so I thought maybe it was nose heavy, but then after I landed, I realized the elevator was just trimmed back to neutral, and it turns out it had a little bit of down trim before I started flying. So 3 or 4 clicks of up elevator, and then about 2 or 3 clicks of right rudder, and it was tracking perfectly straight. One sort of fun thing you can do, guys, is if you're flying along, say with about 70% throttle, start feeding in some up elevator, and at the same time bring the throttle down. So you're kind of bringing them both down until you have full up elevator, and your throttle is about 20-25%, somewhere in there. The plane's going to slow down. It's going to start flying very slow, very scale-like. If it gets too slow and starts to stall, just blip a little more throttle in there to keep it going. But once it's like that, you can just fly it extremely slowly, extremely scale, and you can still steer it around with your rudder. So that's just kind of a fun thing you can do when you're flying the plane if you want to get it to fly very slow, very scale-like. You get about 4 minutes of flight time on a charge, and it takes about 30 to 40 minutes to charge the battery with the charger in the transmitter. And the battery is tiny. It's a little 35 milliamp pack. And one thing you may note about the battery, it does have a micro connector that is the same as the UMX batteries. So you may have one of these UMX USB chargers. Don't be tempted to charge this battery with this charger, because this charger has 300 milliamp output. This is a 35 milliamp pack, so you're going to be charging this battery at about 8.5 C if you use it, which is going to be way too much for this battery. It's going to damage the battery. It may puff it, may smoke it, who knows. So don't use the USB charger. Use the charger that comes with the transmitter right in there. If you want to use your own charger, just make sure that it can charge at a very slow rate. You want to charge this at 0.035 amps for 1 C. So unless your charger can go all the way down to 0.035 amps, stick to the charger that comes in the transmitter. As I mentioned, guys, this plane is great for a beginner because it's a very slow, very draggy, easy to fly biplane. It can't get too fast on you. In fact, I could not loop this plane. Even with a full power dive, pulling full up elevator, the best I could get it to do was maybe go about to here and then just drop the nose down again. So I couldn't even get it to loop because it's that stable and it just doesn't have the control response to loop. One great thing about this plane, guys, is that it's very hard to over control it. One problem a beginner can run into is over controlling a plane, where if it's going to the right, they give too much left input and then they give too much right input, and pretty soon you're in this cycle of over controlling the model. This plane is so docile, so easy to fly that, if it's going to the right and you want to go left, it's going to just slowly do it. It's very easy to track it and follow it. You're not going to get into this panicky mode of over controlling it. But again, if you do get into trouble, just cut the throttle. It's going to just float right down. In fact, when the battery runs out, you're not going to get any warning. It's just basically going to quit in the middle of the flight, and then you're just going to float down and land. And it won't hurt itself because it's so lightweight. The other thing with this plane, guys, is that you want to fly it in pretty much no wind or very low wind conditions because it's just so lightweight. If the leaves are blowing on the trees very much, don't fly it. It's great to fly indoors. If you have a nice gym or even a large enough living room, probably you could fly it, but you want to keep it out of the wind. So best to fly it, early in the morning or in the evening or on a very calm day. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of difficult. It's going to get tossed around. It doesn't have a ton of power to overcome the wind, so you want to keep it in those light wind conditions. All right, guys, there is the review of the new Micro Tiger Moth from Hobby People. Hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this plane. I think it's a great beginner model. Tiger Moth is always special to me because it was my first airplane in 2002. Anyways, if you guys could give a thumbs up or subscribe, I always appreciate that. And I will see you flying next time.